The Bastards of Bridgferd. When I started working for the meat processing plant, I had nothing. I had a letter stating that I was homeless, and that got me a place to stay at Haymarket Center. That letter got me food, not good food, but food. I had a place to sleep, to shower, a place to leave a few possessions I had, mostly clothes, a guitar, and an old Dell laptop my older brother borrowed from his work for me to write with. I was homeless, but I wasn't as bad off as the other guys that lived at Haymarket. The key things I had going for me was that most other people didn't have a full set of teeth, a basic education, felonies, and I had never done heroin. This didn't make me a better person than these guys, but it gave me more options. I was slightly more hireable. I was able to get a job close by at Bridgferd Foods. Bridgferd was an awful place to work. I didn't understand the logistics of why until I had been there for over 3 years and had risen to a position where my direct boss was one of the owners of the place. My time there started with me getting my basic motor functions back, how to lift up heavy things, put them into different places. I got really good at that and moved on to using tools like an electric pallet jack or forklift to move heavier objects to different places in the plant. My basic Spanish-speaking skills made me very useful, as there was a large mix of English, Spanish, and Polish-speaking people at the plant. My first week there was like being on a football team and having the 2-day practices. Except I was working 8, 9, sometimes 12-hour shifts with very little breaks. The workers complained all the time. I kept my mouth shut for the most part because I was happy to finally have a job. I felt like some of the guys that had been there for years and years should be happy that they had consistent work. My bosses and the people that were hired on full-time in the kitchen, I especially thought were whiners. They had good health insurance, and I assumed that they were making a good deal more than minimum wage that we, the temps, were getting. After 6 months of working super hard, I finally got hired and got my first paycheck. I wasn't expecting anything huge, but I figured it'd be nice to be making 50 cents more than I was before. My paycheck was exactly the same, though, once I got hired on. Minimum fucking wage for prostituting my body out for a bunch of greedy assholes. Yeah, I get it now. I started to see things a little clearer. I was 6 months sober. I was working harder than I'd ever worked in my life and getting paid less than I did when I was in high school bussing tables. Fuck, I got paid better when I was a babysitter. This was a complete and utter bullshit. I stuck around there and kept getting promotions. With each promotion, I got a nickel or dime raise. I continued to work hard, but my body was starting to give out. I had to have surgery on my wrist 2 years in for acute tendonitis in my left wrist. I was out for a month during that period, and Bridgferd didn't give me a dime. I had to go to the union and get a small amount of money to tide me over until my wrist healed. I came back and kept up with my hard work and started eyeing a job in the office. Nobody had made a jump like that before, but I knew their safety administrator was quitting, and I knew I could do the job. I fought tooth and nail to get the job, but I got it. Surely now, I would get decent pay. A living wage, perhaps? My first meeting with the boss, Rich Bridgferd. What a weird name. My first meeting with my boss, Richard Bridgford. My first meeting with my boss, Richard Bridgford, the question came up. Here we go. My first meeting with the boss, Richard Bridgferd. I'm going to edit this a little bit. In my first meeting with my boss, Richard Bridgford, the question of a raise came up. Richard is about 4 inches taller than me. He's cocaine skinny and has an insecure masculinity. That he tries to front. He wears shades in the office on Monday and come in late. The Bears are having a good year, and him and a couple of his bros have killer seats. I know things about football, so I talk about football. Yeah, so how's it going so far? I haven't been able to train you yet or anything. It's just, we're busy with getting the new plant and selling this place off, Richard says, kind of trailing off and looking at his smartphone while itching his nose. We're at a tiny circular table by the copier machine. It isn't the main meeting room, but it'll do for our discussions. Yeah, I like it so far. I mean, I think I can do a really good job here. I did have a question, though. Hold on a second, Richard said, putting up his finger and laughing to himself. Go ahead, what were you going to say? Well, I thought after being promoted to safety administrator I'd get a raise. Oh, he said, looking at me as if I had offended him. Well, I mean, you're not in the kitchen breaking your back anymore. Yeah, but I know what safety administrators in general get paid. Yeah, dude, but you're just starting, you know? Yeah, but I've been here for 3 years now, and I don't make more than the machine operators. Well, do you want to go back to the kitchen and go that route? He was getting annoyed with me. Dude, this is just how it's going to work here. You don't have a college degree. You're smart, though. I get that. You're better than anyone expected on your test, but can I just get a little more, I asked him? I went too far. I was wincing in agony. Well, 15 an hour work, he finally said. That was 50 cents more than I was getting, but at least it was something. Yeah, fine. Dude, I don't have to give you shit, so don't give me that attitude. It's just the nature of the beast here, Richard explained to me. I stood up. I got it. I wasn't giving you attitude. Thanks. I put out my defeated hand. Gave him a sincere grin. Yeah, man, we like you here. We know you work hard. You just gotta earn it, man. He looked at his phone again. Alright, cool, I gotta take this. And just like that, I was making a living wage at 34 years of age.
Yeah, you did way better than I could.
I don't think so.